Olivia Hayes straightened the quarterly reports on her desk and allowed herself a small smile of satisfaction. For years at Crosstech Industries had been transformative, not just professionally, but personally. The company was innovative, the culture was respectful, and most importantly, her boss was exactly what she needed him to be, completely, utterly, safely gay. Adrian Cross was everything a CEO should be. At 6'2" with dark hair that always looked effortlessly perfect, sharp blue eyes that caught every detail, and a presence that commanded attention the moment he entered a room, he was objectively attractive. He wore suits that were clearly custom-tailored, moved with the kind of confidence that came from building a tech empire from nothing, and had a smile that could probably melt hearts if he turned it in the right direction. But to Olivia, the most important thing about Adrian Cross was that he would never turn that smile in her direction. Not in that way. The evidence seemed clear. Adrian was always with Ethan Cole, his business partner and best friend. They'd founded Crosstech together 7 years ago, traveled together constantly, had lunch together every single day, and shared an easy intimacy that spoke of something deeper than friendship. Sure, Ethan had a girlfriend, but that didn't stop the office speculation. Everyone assumed Adrian was gay, and Olivia had built her entire sense of security around that assumption. This belief made her feel safe in a way she hadn't felt in years. 4 years ago, Olivia had worked at a smaller digital marketing firm where her boss, Ryan Mitchell, had turned every workday into a waking nightmare. It started with compliments about her work that gradually shifted to comments about her appearance. Ryan found excuses to touch her shoulder, stand too close in elevators, brush against her in the hallway. His attention became increasingly aggressive despite her obvious discomfort. The final incident happened late on a Thursday evening when most of the office had emptied out. Ryan had cornered her in the copy room, blocking the door with his body. His words still echoed in her nightmares. "Why do you keep fighting this, Olivia? You know we'd be good together." When he'd reached for her, she'd shoved past him and run, never returning to that office again. 4 weeks afterward, Olivia barely left her apartment. The thought of job hunting terrified her. What if the next boss was worse? What if she ended up trapped again? But bills had to be paid, so she'd forced herself to start applying. When Crosstech called her for an interview, she'd almost cancelled 3 times. That interview changed everything. Adrian had been professional, focused entirely on her qualifications. He'd asked about her experience with brand strategy, her proficiency in analytics platforms, her ability to manage multiple campaigns simultaneously. Not once did his eyes wander. Not once did he make her feel anything but respected. At the end of the interview, he'd offered her the job immediately. "You're exactly what we need," he'd said with a warm but professional smile. "Welcome to Crosstech." Working for Adrian had been healing in ways Olivia hadn't expected. She'd learned to relax again, to trust that not every man in a position of power would abuse it. The office culture Adrian fostered was respectful and inclusive. He had zero tolerance for harassment. Everyone knew it after he'd fired a senior developer for making inappropriate comments to an intern. So when her best friend Maya from the HR department burst into her office on a Tuesday afternoon with wide eyes and barely contained urgency, Olivia knew something was wrong. "Did you see this afternoon's meeting schedule?" Maya asked, slightly breathless. Olivia pulled up her calendar and felt her blood turn to ice. Partnership discussion with Mitchell Digital Solutions, 3 p.m. Attendees: Adrian Cross, Ethan Cole, Ryan Mitchell. Ryan. The man who'd haunted her dreams for 4 years was going to be in this building in less than 2 hours. "Liv, you just went completely pale." Maya moved closer, concern written across her features. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Olivia lied, her hands trembling as she closed her laptop. "Just wasn't expecting that name." Maya knew some of what had happened at Olivia's previous job, though not all the horrifying details. She squeezed Olivia's shoulder sympathetically. "Do you want me to find a reason for you to work from home this afternoon?" Olivia considered it, but pride won out. She couldn't let Ryan Mitchell control her life anymore. This was her workplace, her territory. She would simply avoid him. The meeting was in the executive conference room, far from her desk. She could stay in her office with the door closed. Ryan would never even know she worked here. The plan lasted exactly until 2:45 when Adrian called. "Olivia, can you bring the marketing portfolio to the conference room? The Mitchell team wants to review our recent campaigns." Her throat went dry. "Of course, Mr. Cross. I'll be right there." Olivia gathered the materials with shaking hands. She could do this. Drop off the documents, keep her head down, leave immediately. Ryan might not even recognize her after 4 years. People changed. Hair, style, confidence, maybe he wouldn't remember. The conference room had glass walls offering a clear view inside. Olivia could see Adrian and Ethan seated on one side of the large table. Across from them sat 3 people from Mitchell Digital, including the one person she'd prayed never to see again. Ryan looked older, with gray threading through his brown hair at the temples, but his smile was the same, that predatory expression she remembered too well. He was laughing at something, completely at ease, as if he hadn't traumatized someone enough to make them quit their job and fear professional environments for months. Olivia used the side entrance that led to the refreshment area. She could place the portfolio on the credenza and leave without crossing through the main seating area. Her plan almost worked. "Thank you, Olivia." Adrian's voice was calm and professional as always. She mumbled a response, keeping her head down, and turned to leave. "Olivia? Olivia Hayes?" Ryan's voice stopped her cold. She didn't turn around, didn't respond, just kept walking toward the door, her heart hammering. "Wait, it is you. Olivia Hayes from Preston Marketing. What are the odds?" She made it out of the conference room and back to her office, where she closed the door and tried to control her breathing. Her phone buzzed with a text from Adrian. "Are you all right? You left quickly." Before she could respond, another message came through from an unknown number. "Surprised to see me? We should catch up. You look even better than I remembered." Ryan had somehow gotten her personal number. Olivia blocked the contact immediately, but the damage was done. Her sanctuary had been invaded. The safe space she'd built over 4 years suddenly felt fragile and exposed. The rest of the afternoon crawled by in agonizing slowness. Olivia jumped at every sound, terrified Ryan would come looking for her. When 5 o'clock finally arrived, she considered leaving, but the parking garage suddenly seemed dangerous. What if Ryan was waiting there? At 5:30, Adrian appeared in her doorway. "The meeting is over. They've left the building." He studied her carefully with those perceptive blue eyes. "Olivia, if you need to talk about anything, my door is always open." She nodded, not trusting her voice. That Friday, Crosstech held its annual summer celebration on the rooftop terrace. The event was mandatory for all staff, a chance for departments to mingle and celebrate the company's record-breaking quarter. Olivia wore a simple emerald dress and tried to blend into the background, staying close to Maya. Everything was fine until she saw Ryan step off the elevator. He wasn't supposed to be here. The Mitchell Digital deal was still being negotiated. There was no reason for him to attend an internal Crosstech event. But there he was, apparently invited by someone in business development who thought it would help build the partnership. Ryan's eyes scanned the crowded terrace and locked onto Olivia. He smiled and started walking directly toward her. Panic flooded Olivia's system. Maya was at the bar getting drinks. Ethan and his girlfriend were on the other side of the terrace. Adrian was near the windows, surrounded by board members and investors. There was nowhere to hide, nowhere to go. Ryan was cutting through the crowd with clear purpose, his intention unmistakable. Olivia's eyes darted around desperately and landed on Adrian. He was alone for just a moment, holding a drink and checking his phone, his expression thoughtful. Without thinking, driven by pure instinct and desperation, Olivia crossed the distance between them in seconds. Adrian looked up just as she reached him, surprise flickering across his handsome features. Before he could speak, before she could lose her nerve or think about the consequences, Olivia sat down on his lap. Adrian froze completely. His entire body went rigid, the drink in his hand hovering in midair. She felt his sharp intake of breath, felt his heart suddenly start racing against her back. "Please," she whispered desperately, her voice so quiet only he could hear. "Just pretend this is normal. Please." She felt the exact moment Adrian understood. His eyes tracked across the terrace and found Ryan, who had stopped dead about 15 feet away, staring at them with his mouth slightly open in shock. What happened next stunned Olivia more than anything in her entire life. Adrian's arm came around her waist, firm, possessive, protective, pulling her closer against him. His other hand moved to rest on her thigh with clear territorial intent. He leaned forward slightly, his lips brushing near her ear, and said in a voice loud enough for Ryan to hear, "You're trembling. Should I ask who that man is, or should I just have security remove him from this event right now?" The word sent shivers through Olivia's entire body. This wasn't pretend. The tension in Adrian's body, the possessive way he held her, the dangerous edge in his voice, it was all devastatingly real. Ryan's confidence visibly faltered. His eyes moved from Olivia to Adrian's hand on her thigh and back to their faces, processing the implications. "I didn't realize you two were together," Ryan said, his voice tight. "Now you do," Adrian replied, his voice like cold steel. "Was there something you needed?" "No, I just wanted to say hello to an old colleague." Ryan's smile was forced, brittle. "I'll leave you two alone." He turned and walked away quickly, disappearing toward the elevators. Olivia sat frozen on Adrian's lap, barely breathing. She should move. She should apologize and explain and get off him immediately. But Adrian's arm was still around her waist, his hand still on her thigh, and she could feel his heartbeat racing against her spine. "Olivia." Adrian's voice was rough, strained in a way she'd never heard before. "You need to get up now." But something in his tone suggested he didn't actually want her to move at all. "I'm so sorry," she began, starting to stand. Adrian's grip tightened just slightly, keeping her in place for one more moment. "Don't apologize. Just tell me who he is and why you're afraid of him." "My boss. At my last job. He wouldn't leave me alone and I had to quit." Adrian was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was low and intense. "Has he contacted you since Tuesday's meeting?" "He texted me. I blocked the number." She felt Adrian's entire body tense with barely controlled anger. "If he approaches you again, if he contacts you in any way, you tell me immediately. Do you understand?" Olivia nodded, still not moving from his lap. "Olivia." Adrian's voice dropped even lower, became almost dangerous. "I need you to stand up now. Because if you don't, if you stay here one more second, I'm going to do something that will make everyone at this company realize I was never what they thought I was." Olivia's breath caught. "What do you mean?" Adrian's hand moved slightly on her thigh, a barely perceptible caress that sent electricity through her entire body. "I mean I'm going to kiss you right here in front of everyone, and then every single person will know the truth." "What truth?" Olivia whispered. "That I've wanted you since the day you walked into my office 4 years ago. That letting people think I was gay was easier than admitting I was completely obsessed with my marketing coordinator. That I've spent 1,000 days pretending I didn't notice everything about you." He paused, his breath warm against her ear. "That I'm absolutely not safe, Olivia. Not where you're concerned. Not even a little bit." The world tilted on its axis. Everything Olivia thought she knew shattered in an instant. Adrian Cross wasn't gay. Adrian Cross wanted her. Had wanted her for 4 years. And she was sitting on his lap at a company party with his hand on her thigh while her heart threatened to beat out of her chest and her entire understanding of reality reconstructed itself. "Stand up," Adrian said again, his voice tight with control. "Stand up now, Olivia. Or stay and accept what happens next. You have 5 seconds to decide." Olivia didn't move. 5 seconds passed. Then 10. Then 20. She sat frozen on Adrian Cross's lap while her safe, carefully constructed world crumbled and rebuilt itself into something terrifying and exhilarating and completely unexpected. And for the first time in 4 years, Olivia Hayes allowed herself to feel something other than safe. Adrian made a sound low in his throat, something between a groan and a laugh. "You're killing me," he murmured against her ear, his breath sending shivers down her spine. Then, with careful deliberation, he stood, lifting her with him as if she weighed nothing. He set her on her feet and stepped back, putting professional distance between them. But his eyes were darker than she'd ever seen them, filled with something that made her knees weak. "My office. Monday morning. 9 o'clock sharp." It wasn't a request. "We need to talk." Olivia nodded, unable to form words, and watched him walk away through the crowd. Several people glanced their way with curious expressions, but no one approached. Maya appeared at her elbow moments later, eyes wide as saucers. "What just happened? Did you just sit on Adrian Cross's lap?" "I can explain," Olivia started, though she wasn't sure she could. "You better, because that looked like a lot more than professional courtesy." Maya pulled her toward a quiet corner. "Spill everything. Now." The weekend passed in a blur of anxiety and anticipation. Olivia replayed every moment, every word, every touch. Adrian had said he wanted her. For 4 years. The revelation felt impossible and yet perfectly logical at the same time. How had she missed the signs? Or had there been no signs to miss because Adrian had been that careful about hiding his feelings? Monday morning arrived with painful slowness. Olivia dressed with extra care, choosing a burgundy dress that was professional but flattering. She arrived at the office 30 minutes early and tried to work, but her eyes kept drifting to Adrian's closed door. At exactly 9 o'clock, his door opened. "Olivia, could you come in, please?" Her heart hammered as she crossed the threshold. Adrian closed the door behind her and gestured to the leather couch near the windows rather than the chairs across from his desk. The informal seating felt significant somehow. "Before we discuss anything else," Adrian began, sitting on the opposite end of the couch, "I need to apologize. What I said Friday was inappropriate. You came to me for protection, and I took advantage of the situation." "You didn't take advantage," Olivia said quickly. "I sat on your lap. That was my choice. A choice made under duress because you were afraid." Adrian ran a hand through his hair, disrupting its usual perfect styling. "I should have simply had security escort that man out immediately. Instead, I used the opportunity to make my feelings known, and that was wrong." "What if I'm glad you did?" Adrian's head snapped up, his blue eyes locking onto hers with laser focus. "What?" Olivia took a breath, gathering courage. "For 4 years, I felt safe here because I thought you couldn't possibly be interested in me. But now I'm wondering if maybe I used that belief as an excuse." "Excuse for what?" "To not examine my own feelings." The words came faster now. "You're brilliant and successful and intimidating. You're my boss. Getting involved with you would be complicated and potentially disastrous for my career. As long as I believed you were gay, I didn't have to confront the fact that maybe," she paused, heart racing. "Maybe I've been attracted to you this entire time too." The silence that followed was deafening. Adrian stared at her as if she'd just announced she could fly. "Say that again," he finally said, his voice rough. "I think I've had feelings for you for a long time. I just convinced myself it was admiration or professional respect because anything else seemed impossible. Adrian closed his eyes and released a long breath. When he opened them again, the intensity there made Olivia's stomach flip. We need to establish some ground rules. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. First, you need to understand that I never lied about being gay. I simply never corrected people's assumptions. It was easier to let everyone believe what they wanted than to constantly deal with unwanted attention or explain my private life. Olivia nodded, processing this information. Ethan has been with his girlfriend Lauren for 3 years. We're best friends and business partners, nothing more. The rumors were always completely unfounded. Why didn't you ever correct them? Because it was useful. Adrian's expression grew guarded. When people think you're unavailable, they stop trying. No gold diggers, no women interested in my bank account, no complications. I could focus on building this company without distractions. Until me, Olivia said softly. Until you. His voice dropped. You walked into my office 4 years ago, and everything I thought I wanted changed. Suddenly being alone didn't seem like the safer option anymore. It just seemed lonely. Olivia felt tears prick her eyes. Why didn't you say something? Because you were healing from whatever that man did to you. I could see it in the way you flinched sometimes, the way you always made sure to keep physical distance. I wasn't going to add pressure when you were learning to feel safe again. So you just waited? I waited. I watched you become confident again. I made sure this company was a place where you could thrive without fear. Adrian's eyes held hers. And I told myself it was enough just to see you happy, even if it wasn't with me. Adrian. Olivia's voice broke. But then Friday happened, and I couldn't pretend anymore. He moved closer, his expression intense. Olivia, if we pursue this, we do it properly. I won't sneak around or treat you like a dirty secret. But we need to be careful about optics. You're my marketing coordinator. People will assume you've been receiving preferential treatment or that your accomplishments aren't legitimate. I don't care what people think, Olivia said with surprising conviction. You might not now, but you will when the gossip starts. Adrian reached out and took her hand, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. I've built this company on integrity. I won't compromise that, and I won't let your reputation be damaged either. So what do you suggest? We date outside the office first. We keep things professional here until we're certain this is real and lasting. And if it is real, his smile was slow and devastating. Then we go public properly. HR documentation, full disclosure to the board, everything by the book. How long do we wait? As long as it takes to be sure. Adrian squeezed her hand gently. I've waited 4 years, Olivia. I can wait a little longer to do this right. Over the next several weeks, Olivia discovered that Adrian Cross was full of surprises. He took her to small, intimate restaurants where they wouldn't be recognized by anyone from CrossTech. They talked for hours about everything: childhood memories, favorite books, dreams for the future, fears they'd never shared with anyone else. Adrian opened up about building CrossTech from nothing, working 18-hour days, sacrificing every personal relationship for success. He admitted that letting people assume he was gay had been a shield, a way to avoid intimacy without having to be honest about his workaholism and fear of vulnerability. My parents' marriage fell apart because my father prioritized work over everything, Adrian explained over dinner one evening. I swore I wouldn't do that, but then I built a company and realized I was exactly like him. It seemed easier to just be alone. What changed? Olivia asked. You did. His eyes met hers across the candlelight. You walked into my office and something shifted. Suddenly, being alone didn't seem like the safer option anymore. It just seemed sad. At the office, they maintained careful professionalism, but it was getting harder. Adrian's eyes would linger on her a moment too long during meetings. Olivia would catch herself staring at his hands and remembering how they'd felt on her waist. The tension was delicious and torturous in equal measure. Maya cornered Olivia in the break room one afternoon after noticing her checking her phone and smiling for the 5th time that hour. "You're seeing someone," Maya accused. "That's texting with someone special," smile. Olivia tried to deflect, but Maya was relentless. "Is it someone from the office?" "Oh my God, it's Adrian Cross, isn't it? That lap incident wasn't random." "Maya, please keep your voice down." "I knew it." Maya's excitement was barely contained. "How long? How serious? Tell me everything. We're taking things slowly. Very slowly. And it's completely private for now. Your secret is safe with me," Maya promised. "But Liv, be careful. Office romances are complicated, especially when one person is the CEO." Olivia knew Maya was right. But being with Adrian felt worth any complication, until Ryan Hayes reappeared. It happened on a Wednesday afternoon. Olivia was leaving the building for lunch when a hand grabbed her arm. She spun around to find Ryan standing there, his smile tight and angry. "You've been avoiding me," he said, not releasing her arm. "Let go of me." Olivia tried to pull away, but his grip tightened. "I came back to this building 3 times hoping to run into you." Ryan stepped closer, backing her against the building wall. "You and Cross, is that real, or were you just trying to make me jealous? It's none of your business. Let go. Everything about you is my business, Olivia. I saw you first. You belong to me. I never belonged to you." She shoved at his chest, but he didn't budge. "Ryan Mitchell." They both turned. Adrian stood 15 feet away, his expression colder than Olivia had ever seen it. Ethan was with him, equally stone-faced. They must have followed her out of the building. "Remove your hand from her. Now." Adrian's voice was deadly quiet. Ryan released Olivia's arm but didn't step back. "We were just talking." "No, you were assaulting her in broad daylight." Adrian moved closer, and Olivia saw Ryan actually flinch. "I've been doing research on you, Mitchell. Turns out you have quite a history. Harassment. Complaints from different women at 4 different companies. All settled quietly with NDAs and severance packages." Ryan's face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. And now you're going to listen very carefully." Adrian's voice was measured, controlled, absolutely terrifying. "You're going to leave Olivia alone. Permanently. No calls, no texts, no showing up at her workplace. If I hear you've contacted her in any way, those NDAs become public knowledge. I'll personally make sure every business publication runs the story. Your company will be destroyed, and your reputation will be unsalvageable." "You can't do that," Trevor blustered, but there was fear in his eyes. "Try me." Adrian stepped even closer. "I'm Adrian Cross. I have more resources, more connections, and more motivation than you can possibly imagine. Because Olivia isn't just my employee. She's mine. And I protect what's mine." The possessiveness in Adrian's voice sent shivers down Olivia's spine. Ryan seemed to recognize he was outmatched. He glanced at Ethan, who crossed his arms and stared back impassively, then back at Adrian. "Fine. Whatever. She's not worth this trouble anyway." Adrian moved so fast Olivia barely saw it. One moment he was standing still, the next his hand was fisted in Ryan's collar, slamming him back against the wall. "If you ever speak about her that way again, harassment allegations will be the least of your problems. Are we clear?" Ryan nodded frantically. Adrian released him with a look of disgust. Ryan scrambled away, practically running to his car. Olivia was shaking. Adrian turned to her immediately, his expression shifting from fury to concern in an instant. "Are you hurt? Did he hurt you?" She shook her head, unable to speak. Adrian pulled her into his arms right there on the street, in full view of anyone who might be watching. She buried her face in his chest and let the trembling subside. "I'm done hiding," Adrian said into her hair. "I'm done pretending you're just my employee. Everyone's going to know, Olivia. Is that okay?" She pulled back to look at him. His eyes were fierce, protective, filled with something that looked remarkably like love. "Yes," she whispered. "That's more than okay." Adrian kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of promise. When they broke apart, Ethan was grinning. "About damn time, boss. Lauren owes me $50. She thought you'd wait another month before going public." Olivia laughed despite everything, and Adrian's answering smile was the most genuine she'd ever seen on his face.